Good afternoon to you. Mark Zeta with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is Saturday the 24th of October 2020. The main topic today, of course, will be Invest Area 95L, which is well on its way to becoming a tropical depression. It does appear in the Caribbean Sea, and there's some interesting things about it that we need to examine and see if we can try to figure out where this might end up, how strong it may become. So here we are. The end of October, and things are still busy. We have Epsilon in the northern reaches of the Atlantic heading on out. From there, I'll show you the next several days. It'll eventually die off and become what we call post-tropical, merging with a larger storm system up over the North Atlantic, and that will, for the most part, be the end of that. Maybe some merging, like I mentioned, and a larger storm system could impact portions of the British Isles in that vicinity. Iceland, which is not part of the British Isles, but it could be an issue for the far reaches of the Northeast Atlantic and maybe even the North Sea. We'll see. Hey, perfect. All right, so we'll see, right? The North Sea. You get it? Anyway, down in the Caribbean, we do have Invest Area 95L with nearly a 100% probability or chance here of development. And the Hurricane Hunter is headed out there. This time it's the NOAA Hurricane Hunter. I don't know if you know this, but you have the Air Force Reserves. That's the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Group or Unit out of Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi. I know some of those folks personally, as I do with the NOAA Hurricane Hunters as well, and they fly out of Florida. I can't remember if they're still from Lakeland. I know they used to be in Tampa, and I think they relocated to Lakeland, Florida. But the NOAA plane is the one that is headed out there. In fact, they're out there right now. And then sometimes it's the Air Force Reserves, and so they, change back and forth. But we have a NOAA plane down there now, checking this out. It doesn't look very well organized today. I mean, it's not like obvious what's going on in terms of rapid intensification or anything like that. It's there. Yes, it's trying to consolidate, but it gets harder and harder the later into the season you go. Thank goodness, because it's already been one heck of a season. But that's where it is. That's the blob of clouds down there, slowly trying to get organized. Stronger upper level winds up to the north up here, and so if it was trying to consolidate up in this vicinity, it would be torn apart. As it stands, there is some upper level outflow, but just generally speaking, you can look at this and tell yourselves it is not extremely well organized, and it doesn't have these obvious signs of rapid organization. Now, that being said, the vorticity signature of it, and you know what a fan I am of that, there it is, nice and round, concentrating just a few hundred miles north and east here of Honduras, south and west of the Cayman Islands, which don't show up on this particular satellite product from the University of Wisconsin, but we can see the Cayman Islands on this satellite product from Weather Nerds. There's Grand Cayman, here's Jamaica over here. And it looks like the biggest or the most definable concentrated area of spin or vorticity, as we call it, the fancy way of saying it, right in here somewhere. If I had to be a betting man, that's what I would bet. And Recon is down there checking things out, as I mentioned, the NOAA plane, some upper level outflow with the system. It's not ideal, but it's also not overwhelmingly hostile. And certainly the water temperatures in this area are very warm. The upper ocean heat content is formidable, and this is more than likely going to be a depression by later today. So, that being the case, where is it going to go? How strong is it going to be as it goes, and where it ends up? Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. So if you want to turn the video off now and go watch something else, sure, because I don't know. Seriously, I don't know where it's going to end up. It's a difficult forecast. It's the time of year. It's been a challenging season already. The models have handled cyclogenesis, or the birth of these systems, very poorly overall. And we're just going to have to kind of wait and see together. But we do have some hints and some things we can look at. That's why we call this guidance. Now, one thing I want to point out is climatology real quick. Normally, we get systems that develop in the Caribbean down here, or the Caribbean, whatever you want to call it. They generally head off in this direction, something like that. Maybe they form over here and they head off with a track across Cuba and the Bahamas, Think about Hurricane Michelle, 2001. Wilma, on this date, 24 years ago, not quite, the 24th of October, 15 years ago, Wilma got its start, came up and really menaced the northeast Yucatan and then cut across here and was quite impactful on its way out into the Atlantic 15 years ago. That's roughly the track it took. And then there are plenty of other examples. In 2009, we had Hurricane Ida that formed down here in this region, came up across and made landfall in Alabama right as it transitioned. And this was in November, early November of 2009. Ida was a Caribbean storm and a hurricane at one point, a Category 2. But that was in November, and yes, the shelf water and the dry air and the other negative influences up here were able to sap Ida of its intensity. Remember Ida? I was there. I was on the Gulf Coast with Mike Watkins in Gulf Shores, Alabama, as it came in. And so it does happen. You get some systems that break from climatology, certainly. But most of the time, this is the general track that they take, something like that. Usually, climatology usually favors that. So please keep that in mind when I'm about to show you this. I actually had to check the date. And if you haven't seen the Euro yet, that's what we're going to look at here, the European for today, the ECMWF. Had to make darn sure. I was like, well, there's Epsilon up there. That's that very dark area of vorticity. But you'll see. It's just like, really? I mean, come on. It's getting towards November. So, as I tease you about it, let me just show you a couple other things. This is Epsilon. That is what a well-defined, yes, it's transitioning into an extratropical system, but that is what we look for. And if this, which is 95L, ever looks like that, oh, we got problems, So that's what we're looking to see. How defined does that vorticity signature become in the model? That's what I look for. This is not necessarily what the Hurricane Center folks are looking at. I'm just saying this is my favorite area because this is 5,000 feet in the atmosphere. That's that 850 millibar part. Cyclonic vorticity, the spin in the atmosphere, and how much of it is there. And that gets into the math and the physics when you start looking at the scale over here, and we're not going to go into that. But just look and see, and you'll tell, does it get better organized? It's the simplest way that I know of, because at this level, at 5,000 feet, if this is structurally sound, can't even say it, if the structure of it is sound, then everything above 5,000 feet usually is too until they start getting sheared. Anyway, I'm over explaining it. Let's just get on with it. So here's the initial. Here's 24 hours out. It gets a little better defined. You see Epsilon leaving the scene. There's our system. Probably a depression. This is valid tomorrow. This is every 24 hours. And maybe even a tropical storm tomorrow. And if it becomes a name storm, it'll be Zeta. Believe it or not, yes, Zeta. So that's 24 hours out. 48 hours out, a little bit better defined, even still. But in 2 days here, just wrap your brain around that, 2 days, it's still down in the Northwest Caribbean. Still hanging out down there east of Cozumel, all right? And well to the west-northwest of the Caymans, which are right there, for what it's worth. But you could still have some feeder bands coming through. We'll give Adam down there something to keep track of. And I appreciate all the reports he was giving as this passed through that area. I've never been to the Caymans. Maybe one day. One day in the future, we shall see. Until then, we have Adam. And then, just by the way, this brought some heavy rain over in Jamaica recently. I heard from one of our friends down there about that as well. So these are already having impacts, these systems, even before they are developed. So moving on out, 72 hours. And this is where I was just like, wait a minute, what? What is the date? Let me just move me over here. Whee! Yeah, I'm like, let me make sure I'm still looking at the right time frame, because remember, what other one did we just see that I was in Louisiana for do this exact same kind of thing? Yes, it was Delta. I mean, this is now the 27th day of October. They're not supposed to go into the Central Gulf or the Western Gulf or whatever. It's just unbelievable. So there's 72 hours. Here's, let's get out to 96. I mean, really. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Where are the troughs over here that are supposed to come and turn these back towards the east, early, even later? Remember Delta, we thought, the GFS especially, was going to get picked up earlier and come up towards Mississippi, maybe towards New Orleans, and then Delta made landfall east of Creole, Louisiana. So that's day 4. This is valid Wednesday morning, the 28th day of October. Really? Okay. So Thursday, it really picks up some steam, and it's a shame that we don't have the points in between. But by Thursday morning, it goes from, let's just back it up and I can just draw it and we'll figure it out. That's the beauty of this. Yes, I know I could subscribe and use like weather models or something, and we could have higher res stuff, but I'm going to use the publicly available stuff from Levi's site. He's crowdfunded through Patreon like I am, and so also with Weather Nerds, just to let you know. Yes, we will be looking at some other products. So there it is at day 4, there it is at day 5, and so we get from point A to point B, and it's not always going to be a straight line, but it comes in maybe something like that. You could surmise that. And yes, that L shape stands for Louisiana. I mean, not really. It just happens that their state is shaped like an L. Louisiana, again, according to the Euro. I mean, just seriously. Why does it do this? Well, we can see this upper level low, this energy here coming out. There's a little front associated with it. Captures would-be Zeta and brings it on shore. It's the in-between point from day 4 there to day 5 that we're missing, and so I don't know how strong it would be along the Louisiana coast if this came to fruition exactly as the Euro is advertising. And again, why this particular route like that? Look, there's the ridge right there over the western Atlantic. You can see it. And then there's this kind of cut-off low. It's not like a strong trough. So we got a problem here. It's like the longer this sits over the Caribbean, I know I keep switching, Caribbean, now it could get stronger. It could become a hurricane at some point. When it feels that troughiness, whatever that is coming to get it, there should be some shear, but if it's moving with those winds, this is complicated. And I'm already seeing, and remember, I'm trying to go down the middle of the road. I'm not going to hype something that doesn't need to be hyped. And if it is, like Laura, you bet, I'm going to hype it. We're going to use some strong wording like the Hurricane Center does. Katrina, Ike, whatever. You understand. Okay? But on the other hand, I don't want to diminish something because I'm trying to make people feel better. I understand. I have empathy that people in Louisiana have been through the ringer. But I also say, that being said, I've met some of them. I haven't met all of them. I know that. But they're also very tough. They don't whine and complain about stuff. They pick themselves up and they move along. The Cajuns down there are very impressive. And I haven't seen one of them shed a tear. And I know privately they do. It's hard. I get it. But I'm not going to sit here and go, well, shear and water temperatures are cooler, so it's probably not going to be anything. You start becoming confirmation bias on the denial side. And what I call that is using hope as a planning tool. And you hear me mention that from time to time. Hope is not a planning tool. You can hope that the cooler waters of the Gulf, the time of year, the shear, etc., will keep this from being strong. But it's not all about being strong. It's another potential hit. It's another problematic situation they're going to have to deal with. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe this doesn't even happen at all. Maybe it's much further to the east into Alabama or the Florida Panhandle, where they're still dealing with the aftermath of Sally, for goodness sakes. So the bottom line, move me back over here while I do my little rant. And I'm just trying to be helpful and just paint it. No, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a hurricane. I don't know if it's going to end up even making landfall where the Euro is showing. Nobody knows for sure. But I want to caution people against downplaying it, thinking that they know, quote unquote, what's going to happen. Because we don't. We don't know. Odds would favor a less intense system overall. And hopefully that'll end up as to what happens. Now, this is from the last night's, This is from the overnight run. That's 6Z Euro Ensemble. This gives you an idea of the mean there into Louisiana, lots of members, the envelope of it, etc. You know, generally speaking, the guidance is suggesting a track of future Zeta. That's the Euro. This is the GFS. It's a little bit more to the east overall with that envelope. And this is from the 12Z, so this is the most current from today. And the general envelope of this is, if you want to draw a cone out of it, which is sometimes helpful, towards the central Gulf Coast and not so much into Louisiana. So an interesting, what we call bifurcation or divergence in the modeling. These are just different products that are available free of charge. If you want to support it through Patreon, you can over at weathernerds.org. And it's pretty cool. This is part of what crowdfunding, see? Weather Nerds is on Patreon just like I am. But these are the different products. It's neat to be able to see the other potential tracks that this could take. As far as intensity, let me just show you this. The Gulf is still warm enough all the way up right there to the coast. Vermilion Bay, almost there. I mean, that's 26 Celsius right there, folks. That's not 24, 23. So don't be, you know, I'm just saying, I've already seen people, and it's just, it is as annoying as seeing a clickbait headline of Cat 3 so-and-so possible, because somebody cherry-picked one model that showed a Cat 3 going into somewhere, and they want to get the people watching their channel. I love the fact that people watch my channel. It's great. I'm trying to educate people, but I don't sit around going, ooh, my video had 10,000 views today, or I don't care. I care, but I don't care. And on the other side of that coin, like I said, when you come in and you go, it's too late in the season, water temperatures have cooled substantially, it's like, well, really? Really, have they? Because to me, I mean, you know, it's been kind of warm lately. We've had that strong southerly flow. I think it's warmed up just a hair from where we were when Delta came in, because we haven't had these big, strong fronts come through since Delta. So I'd be very careful with that. Especially, one more thing here. If Zeta to be, assuming it becomes Zeta, is moving fast, like Nate was in 2017, and that was booking at 26 miles per hour, it could be moving fast enough that the intensity, whatever it is, may not be able to wind down quick enough. So anyway, we got a lot of stuff to watch with this. As far as Florida and over, I don't know. It could come that it swings much farther to the east or further to the east. Whatever. I hate that. Just little things like that aggravate me. Is it further or farther? I think in that case it would be farther to the east because we're talking about distance. Anyhow, yes, Florida is a potential area that could have to deal with this going forward. So we'll see. All right, well, let me wrap this up and get this on YouTube so that millions of people can view it. Just kidding. It is great that you're out there watching. I do appreciate it. And we too are supported through Patreon, our crowdfunding effort. And it's never too late to become a part of that and support what we're doing. Levi's on there with Tropical Tidbits, Weather Nerds as well, just so you know, all right? And we'll stay on top of this, all of us together, working to try to figure out what's going to happen and keep you up to date. You guys have a great rest of your Saturday. Stay safe out there. That's the most important thing. Got to keep you safe so that you can be part of the millions of people that watch these videos. Hardy har. I do want to keep you safe. That's true. I am Mark Zeta, HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks as always for watching. We'll be back with more All About It tomorrow.